President Biden signed the $280 billion CHIPS and Science Act into law today.
That's right. It is part of the administration's efforts to compete with China's high-tech manufacturing industry. The bipartisan legislation is meant to boost domestic manufacturing of computer chips to ease America's reliance on other countries. The law provides billions of dollars in incentives to the U.S. semiconductor industry to increase production. Before signing the bill into law, Mr. Biden said it will make America a global leader for technological and scientific advancements.
For all the division in our country, we're showing ourselves in the world that we can take on the biggest challenges. We can take on the special interest, and our democracy can deliver for the people of this country. That's why I'm confident that decades from now, people are going to look back at this week with all we've passed and all we've moved on, that we met the moment at this inflection point in history. A moment when we bet on ourselves, believed in ourselves, and recaptured the story, the spirit, and the soul of this nation.
CBS News Radio White House correspondent Steven Portnoy joins us now with more. Hi there, Steven. So how important is this piece of legislation to President Biden's overall agenda?
Well, it is a significant part of it. I mean, look, you're talking about a bill that's $280 billion, the centerpiece of it, $52 billion in incentives, in direct subsidies and grants for domestic semiconductor microchip manufacturing. It's meant to boost American competitiveness and see to it that the United States is at least somewhat more self-sufficient with respect to the competition against China. The White House says that this bill will unlock additional private sector funding for microchip manufacturing, including, for example, a deal announced with a company called Micron, where it's going to invest $40 billion to create up to 8,000 new jobs to produce what are called memory chips for phones. Qualcomm and Global Foundries announced that they would form a partnership to put $4.2 billion into an expansion of a facility in upstate New York that would create jobs. And overall, the president says this would result in the creation of some 40,000 jobs to bolster American manufacturing. And it's part of what the White House hopes will be a series of legislative victories. You heard the president refer to it in his signing ceremony today. You've got the CHIPS Act the president signed today, the PACT Act, which he'll sign here tomorrow, has to do with veterans' benefits for members of the armed services who were exposed to burn pits while serving overseas. And then by the end of the week, the president expects the passage of the Inflation Reduction Act, the climate and tax bill that passed the Senate along party lines over the weekend and should pass similarly in the House as early as Friday.
And so tell us a little bit more about the goal of this law. I mean, we understand it is to boost domestic production so the U.S. doesn't need to rely so heavily on other countries, namely China. How much does this law actually accomplish that?
Well, it's a good question. And, when you talk to experts in the field, they say it's more than just direct subsidies that are necessary to spur domestic manufacturing. Microchips are incredibly important to our daily lives. Just look at our devices here. We can't have these kinds of devices or drive modern automobiles without microchips, without these semiconductors that are increasingly being made overseas. And the White House also draws attention to the fact that there's a national security risk in so many of these important devices being made overseas. So the experts say that this funding will help, but it's more than just the money. Ultimately, what is necessary if you're going to build factories to build nanotechnology here in the United States, you need skilled laborers to work in those factories. And that's a fear that has been expressed, that you could build these facilities, but unless you can find the right people with the right training to work in them, it might be difficult for the United States to maintain that competitive edge.
And we do know there's a labor shortage right now in many industries. All right, well, Steve Portnoy at the White House, thank you so much.